Jeremiah. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome. Good to see you.
We were just saying how maybe we should have over-caffeinated. Folks, it's December, so if you're seeing a little, for those who are viewing this podcast, there might be a little puffiness under our eyes, a little extra caffeine in hand. I might be multitasking with my Instacart order for grocery delivery. It's December.
We're having all the fun, right? We're doing all the things, all the celebrations for the holidays, all the kid events, all of it.
All the things. Want to soak it up. All the things.
That's right.
Well, today we're going to talk about a really important topic. And so regardless of how money was spoken about in your home growing up, for a lot of us, that could have been a topic that was avoided. It could have been a topic that was approached with fear and trepidation. And so what we want to do today is just take a minute and talk about some principles about how we talk to our young children about money. And we're thinking about kind of age ranges of kind of school age kids that are living in your home. So, kindergarten through seniors in high school, right? That's kind of a sweet spot. And we're going to talk about how you sort of progress the conversation. And we have brought our own inspiration. Jeremiah, do you want to hold yours up?
Yep. So yours is Priceless Facts About Money by Melody Hobson. Yep, and that one's probably on the younger side. And then the one I have is Smart Not Spoiled by Chad Willardson. He's also a financial advisor. And we kind of like about these two books is Laura's is probably, I don't know what age range you say, 5 to 12, maybe.
Yeah.
Some illustrations or some good things. This one, starts there, but also goes probably through high school of how do you teach kids about money. And I think a key one, Laura started out with, every household is different and everyone has their own baggage as they're trying to raise their kids. They have baggage from their family, whether good or bad. But a key item is that schools, I feel generally are not teaching this. They're not teaching how to open a bank account. So this is wisdom. If anyone has any wisdom in this, you need to pass it on to your kids directly. And some of it's by osmosis. They see you paying bills. They hear you arguing about money, whatever might happen in your household naturally. But there's an opportunity to really lean in and do some of this stuff intentionally. So we're going to talk about some of the things that we are starting to do. Our oldest is only 12, so we've done a number of things with her, but our youngest is still 5. And so he's just starting on this journey. Yep.
I love that word intentional because all of us succumb to just doing what has been shown to us, kind of that nature and nurture, right? It's how we were raised, and we're going to fall into those habits unless we take a minute to be really intentional about how we want to do things differently. So one of the first things that I thought was really fun is to talk to your kids. Like maybe they in school have been hearing about Thanksgiving and how the Pilgrims and the Indians first started to relate to one another, to learn from each other. And that's one of the earlier stories of barter, right? Or trade. So what you want to do is talk to them about what does money mean? Like they might have seen coins, they might have seen these dollar bills, maybe they've seen none of that and they've just seen a credit card, right? So, you want to connect this conversation around the value of goods being exchanged between two entities and try to relate it to something that they're learning about in school.
Yep. I like that. There's goods and services, and I think we take it for granted that you pay for stuff, but the idea that someone is paying for something is great. Even with the little kids, like we let them pay periodically. So we hand them our credit card. They're able to stick it in the machine and do things like that, which
they love it.
Perfect. Yeah, but they love it. They love being included in that process. So I think the part of the money conversation that we talk about is we talk about we're blessed to have jobs. That's good to work. It's good to have a job, and we feel honored that we even get to work somewhere. And so when we use that money, we bring it home, and now we get to be a blessing to other people. And I think for our kids, we try and separate not just you have something so you should give away, but rather like you have an opportunity to work. You have an opportunity to earn. You have the abilities to do these things. And the better you get at your abilities, the more you can earn. But the more you earn, you can use that. And so I think one of our guiding principles in that is, we have been given such opportunities. Let's use those to bless others and to give opportunities to others. And try to use money as part of that conversation.
Yeah, work is a good thing, right? You want to connect to that work, that money doesn't just grow on trees, that it doesn't just appear, that it's not just somehow included in this little plastic card that mommy or daddy has in their purse, right? That money is earned and that is in relation to the work that they do. And so a lot of times we tell our kids, like, let's say they have a day off of school, but we both have to show up to the office, and they, we get this like, really, you have to work. And so that is like a great opportunity to talk to them about, hey, we love what we do. We work hard at what we do. And yes, it's work, but the reason why we work is because it provides money for our family. And what do we get to do with that money? So that's one. The other thing too that occurs to me is, and it's included in this book, there's a small chapter on just like nicknames for money. So as an adult, we use this vernacular on a regular basis, and you don't recall that you need to like break it down for your kids. So here's just a few examples because I think they're kind of funny. Bringing home the bacon. What is that? Do they go to the grocery store? Bread and dough. Bucks. Cha-ching. We talked about dead presidents. A grand. Benjamin Franklin. Moolah. The smackaroonies. I think that was all. Clams. I never used that one. Anyways, but nicknames for money. Cash. Coins. The earlier you can kind of relate those concepts to money, the better. There was another little section just really quickly. Funny phrases. So these are cliches and turns of phrases that we use on a common basis, but kids might be totally confused by them. Can I have a penny for your thoughts? How are we going to make ends meet? We're on the clock. I don't think we have 2 pennies to rub together. To talk about how that's like related to a cash cow. Money can't buy happiness. Oh, that costs an arm and a leg. Penny pincher. Penny saved is a penny earned. Anyways, and it goes on and on. But you think about how kids could interpret those phrases and be like completely confused by what we're talking about.
Right. That's so funny. I like that. I like that book for that reason, that it has illustrations, kind of walks you through some of that stuff. And it's a great book for kids just to introduce money, right? To talk about it.
Yep.
I think where we're at with our kids at the moment, we're in the midst of budgeting, which I think is the next conversation. Once you kind of have this familiarity with this is what money is, then how do we use it? And we put it.
How do we spend it?
How do we spend it? What do we do with it? So we started using the good old fashioned, but the classic, I say tried and true Dave Ramsey envelopes. To say, hey, here's an envelope. This one has spending on it. Here's an envelope. This one says savings on it.
Pretty sure before Dave Ramsey, there was Randy Barkley, and he was my dad. And that's how I was raised, was with 3 envelopes: giving, spending, savings. And so you would get an allowance. How did allowances work in your home? I feel like I should know this.
Yeah, I think we had allowances at some point. I think we also had chores. I think we probably did the chore list. Did you get all your chores checked off, and then you get an allowance? I think allowance, it's funny, all these things with kids, they become good ideas, and all of a sudden they become controversial. Should you give your kid allowance? Should you not give your kid allowance? I remember as a kid, often I was more of like the saver. We'd get money either through allowance or through doing some sort of a job. And I used to just put it in a little drawer, a little box or something. And often it'd be like, we decide as a family, hey, we're going to get pizza, back when it was delivered and you'd have to pay cash at the door. And they'd be like,
wow.
Who's got cash? That's right. Everyone's looking around like, well, who's got some cash? And often my cash would turn to IOUs. Mommy and daddy owe you $10 for the pizza. And I think that was just because I would have cash run as a little kid, pizza money. But
right.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how we did it.
There are platforms for digital transfer of money for children. And so we have a good friend of ours that likes to use Greenlight. That's an app. We decided to use cold hard cash because we thought that idea of holding onto the cash and physically seeing how we count and separate our money might be valuable. But I think in a short order or short term, we're going to have to transfer over to a digital platform, because how often we have that many $1 bills in our our pocket or in our bag is like few and far between. So we're going to the ATM a little bit more often.
We're nearly cashless as ourselves as adults, and I imagine the next generation will be, fairly close to cashless. And so, changing with the times. So the next part I think is really interesting, and this book, Smart Not Spoiled, I think jumps into this of saying, there's times where you can afford something, but you also choose to say no. Like, we're not just going to buy it because we can. But then incentivizing the kids. And one of the really good concepts I think that Chad Willerson brings out in this book is the idea of these income opportunities, rather than getting an allowance, in their household, the way they've structured it is that you just have income opportunities. Some of them could be set, hey, if you wash the windows, you get $2. If you unload the dishwasher, you get $3, whatever it may be. But what he does, which is kind of fun, is he wants his kids to be very entrepreneurial. And so he has them look around the
Love that.
house. And if there's something that they see, they'll pitch it to the parents to say, hey, I noticed. One of the stories he gives is his daughter saw a bookshelf that was unorganized. And so came to him and said, Dad, I can organize your bookshelf. I'll sort it by genre. I'll put it by alphabetically. I'll clean up this whole area. I'll get it all nice. And I think I can do that for $40. And he said, great. I would pay that for you to solve that problem. So then she spent hours, cleaning it, doing it. And he said at the end of it, she'd done a great job, and it took her a little longer than she thought. So when she came back, he said, well done. Like, you did a great job. And the value of this to me is actually $80 because you did more. It was a bigger job than we both thought it was. So paid her the 80, and she's thrilled. But
Love that.
he talks a lot in that of like whether you're bidding these jobs based on time or result. And I think that's just a great concept. The earlier the better, that they can get an idea to say it could just be the hours. It's going to take me 2 hours, therefore I get $5 an hour or whatever it may be. Or to say, hey, to get this result, to get this taken care of, here's the price. Are you willing to pay that? And I think it's just a good mindset. Some people work on hours. Me as an attorney, often I would bill hours. But there's also times where you just work on the result and say, it doesn't matter how long it takes me, what my expertise in this is. I'm paying you to get the result done. I really like the entrepreneurial idea to say that you're seeing a need, you're identifying it, seeing and estimating how you could solve it, and then who might pay you for that. I think it was a good story.
Yeah, I love that process of having to bring about a proposal. Hey, I think I see this need. Here's how much I think it would be worth, right? As a parent, I think that is a great mechanism for training them in their first job to do the same thing. Hey, I see this. They haven't directly asked me to do that, but I'm going to take some initiative and, see if I can get that done, see if that would be a benefit. As an employer now, you see what value that would have at an employee of any age, that they're just willing to take initiative. So I love that. Going back a little bit to allowances, the way that we structured it in our home is that there's kind of reoccurring jobs and tasks that each child has to do. We actually use a skylight calendar, which is just a digital screen so that they can check things off themselves. And their allowance is paid on a weekly basis. If we're not out of town over the weekend, sometimes we have to double up a little bit. And it has to do with the fact not just that they got their jobs done, but that they didn't have to be reminded. So you were just talking about initiative. We also want to see responsibility. And we wanted to find a solution to kind of cutting out that noise and that role that you feel like as a parent where you just become exhausted. Like you've heard yourself say reminders over and over and over again, probably for a week at a time. Hey, you need to do your laundry or put your shoes away or do whatever. So we're like, okay, the money was an incentive enough to get them to start to take some responsibility. Yeah. So, and it's a really direct result if they don't do it. It's like, okay, we didn't get our allowance this week. Let's try again next week.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And I think for us, right now we're in an all or nothing, structure. It doesn't have to be that, right? It could be something different. But I think for us, if they didn't get all their have tos done, right, they don't get paid for that week. I also think there's an element of, and I think we haven't hit a good stride with this yet in our household, but when they really want something, hey, I really want to get this snow cone machine, or I really want to go to this event, or I want to go, here. There's things that kids will say, hey, I want to go to Disneyland. But we've not really set, I think, a strong goal for those. But I'm excited for as the kids come up with these stronger desires. Hey, I really want to accomplish this, or I want money to go buy this. To say, great, that's an option for you. What do you want to do to get there? And have them really take that responsibility and that consistency to earn towards something. I think it'll be great. So I also
like to reward camaraderie. So when we see our oldest kid help our youngest kid try to do a task, right? Like we're at the phase where our 5-year-old might be attempting to clean something, and although you want to reward his effort, really, you're going to have to go back and redo it, or the job didn't actually get done. So he's learning as he goes. He's learning how to match socks and how to fold them. And so when I see older siblings come alongside and help the younger sibling, that's something that I want to recognize and reward as well. Kind of moving forward regarding budgeting is teaching our kids the value of money. You're naturally going to have some kids that are spenders. Even at an early age, you can identify this. And some kids, that it's easier for them to save, right? They really want to hold on to their money for something great, or they just treasure that and they're good savers. And then other kids, the second you walk into a store, boom, it's gone, like
Yeah.
4 times over. And so one thing that we have been exercising lately, and I have to give credit where credit's due. There was a babysitter of ours who first introduced this idea. She took our youngest son to a discount store that takes secondhand donations, and they give you a discount, and you go inside the store and you can shop with that discount. And my son went in and found a whole wall of Nerf guns, and his world was changed. And they're secondhand Nerf guns. Some of them work, some of them don't, but he was able to get them at a discount. And so we have continued that in our home, where the kids periodically will clean out their toys or a closet, and we have piles. There's some things that need to be thrown away if they're ruined or torn. There's some things that be given away, keepsakes, and then some things that go back in their drawers or their closets. And so we compile those things. We get to go to the store, give the discount or give the donation, get a discount, and go shopping. And those are typically opportunities where they use their own money that they've accumulated. And so the lesson there is obviously around, like, how do we stretch our dollar, right? How do we make it go farther? We don't just need to go buy the latest and greatest and newest thing. That's a really easy way to run out of money. How can we get more for that money that we've earned?
Yeah, I think it's been a really good one. I think with the value, and I think the one that we haven't really done a whole lot yet is investing value. And I think an analogy that I'm sure we'll use, but I think one that occurs to me is, like a snowball rolling down a hill. To say, hey, you start off with this much, you have it, you could just leave it as is, or it's usually in cartoons, not real life, but you start rolling a snowball down a hill, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then like slams into a house, or I think you've all seen those types of cartoons. But the idea that things grow and accumulate and become more than what you started with. And
Right.
we talked about there's different platforms now that you could do different investing with your kids and how you do that. I think we're still at the forefront of that. I think that'll probably be our next season with our older kids of how do you invest your money? How do you let it grow? How do you let it continue to do things in the world? But that's a new one. I like that analogy of a snowball just growing as it takes time.
Right. Or the good old plant, right? Like you water the seed and you watch it grow. And so we've kind of addressed going back to the envelope analogy, the spending envelope. We've addressed the savings envelope, where you got to start talking about those ideas of investment over time. And in terms of the giving envelope, this has been really neat for us because, again, we're recording around the end of the year. And a few years ago, we started in our family an opportunity where each one of the kids was given a certain amount of money from us. I think the first year we did it was like $15 or $20. Each kid received that amount from mom and dad. And we talked about where they would want to give that money. What organizations, what work are they doing? What's important to our community? What's important to us personally? One year, one of our kids had a friend who had been hospitalized. And so she decided to give her money to a children's hospital. Our youngest son loves firemen and firefighters. And so he decided to give it to our local fire department, So the idea is to connect them with where the funds are being given. Now, we're in a new day now because they've started with allowances. And so they've accumulated money in that giving envelope. And so this year we get to kind of double their money, give them some of our money and have them take money from their giving envelope and give more. And they get excited and we have a conversation with them about them. And then we actually do the giving with them. So they kind of see how that transaction actually works. So.
Yep. I think it's so great. And I think for Thanksgiving, we did a little bit of giving meal things. It was like a time. I went and volunteered or something. I think tying the two together to say, part of giving is giving of your resources. And some of that's time, some of that's money. In this conversation, it's definitely money focused. But I think it's a great legacy that we're trying to build in our kids. And part of that's modeling it. And part of that's including them. I think those are the two things that we try and, at the moment at least, model a good behavior and also include them in it, however that looks like. So,
yep.
I think the money conversation, I think there's part of it that I think we're in the midst of. There's part of it, I think, that as financial advisors, like we see where the future is, right? We've had so many clients that are great with money, right? And they are looking us to help them manage and really supercharge what they're doing. We've also had clients that really struggle, and they've always struggled, and their relationship with money needs to be rewritten as an adult. So I think the earlier we have some of these conversations, in my mind, the better, and build some good wealthy habits, good healthy habits around money.
And as your teenager progresses and they're 15 and they're looking for their first jobs, we have several clients who are entrepreneurs and they own their own businesses. There are some ins and outs to that, but that could be an opportunity to hire your kids to do work that's related to the work that you do as well. So that would be a topic to bring up with your financial advisor. They'll probably have some advice for you and rules around that, but you could employ your kids. But one of the comments that we talked about as we were preparing for this episode was to talk about that entrepreneurial spirit. And as your kids, get their first paycheck and they open their first bank account, you can get a lot of youth Fidelity, Wells Fargo, whatever, offer those youth accounts, basically starting at age 15. Talking to them about other ways that they might be able to earn money. You had a great story around a family trying to save money to go to a big amusement park.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was part of actually this Smart Not Spoiled book. One of the items, they were wanting to go to an amusement park, and it's going to cost a fair amount, and the family could have afforded it, but they just said, hey, let's let the kids really push for this. It's something they're motivated to do. And so talk about the whole business cycle. They said, hey, there's a July 4th event coming up. Let's go and purchase glow stick bracelets, red, white, and blue. Let's get these resources. And then while we're there, you kids, you could sell them. You can go, all the people and see how much money we can raise. But I really liked one of the things that they talked about, being the full entrepreneurial aspect of this. But, said, I'm going to spend $100 to buy all this stuff. That's a lot of money. And if you kids get, distracted by the fireworks or, not willing to walk up to people and see if they'll want to buy them, you'll have to pay me back if you don't make enough money. Like, I still need to be paid back for the money I'm investing here. Kids were on board. So they got there and the kids kind of scattered, in little groups, and off they went. And they actually almost got a little worried. Like, are they ever coming back? Like, how's this going? The kids came back, he said, so excited, like just thrilled. They had sold all these bracelets. And they said, rather than having to walk up to people awkwardly and sell them, people were waving them down saying, hey, come over here. We wanted to buy 6. We want to buy, 4 of them. So they were able to raise, I think they said like $260 or something, from this entrepreneurial activity, and then use that money to take the family to a fun event.
Amusement park. I love that.
And I liked all the pieces of that. There was even walking up and selling something to somebody, right? But also acknowledging, hey, in this context, this is valuable. Like, this is fun.
Yep.
I'm not like pushing a product. I am, bringing some fun to this adventure. And then even that they had to pay back the bank, they had to pay back their supplier. Yeah, I thought that was a great piece of it, is the entrepreneurial journey.
Yep. Cost of goods sold, all those just like basic principles. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up for today. I think there's a lot more principles that we can talk about, but I hope that our listeners found this to be a helpful guide, whether you are in the lives of your grandchildren or your children. Hopefully there was some useful nuggets here for those elementary and high school age kiddos. To our audience members, thank you so much for listening. Do you have any other parting thoughts, Jeremiah?
No, I think, model this stuff for your kids, and have a great week.
We have a few more things to let you know about before we go. Podcast reviews really help us to serve more people and get this information into the hands of the people who need it. Please leave us a review. Even if it's not 5 stars, we welcome the feedback.
And we invite you to let us know what topics you would like to hear more about, or what would benefit the people in your life who you're closest to. We have more resources online. Those resources are designed to help you share this great information easily with people in your life. To access those resources, please visit tricordadvisors.com.
Often we hear from clients that they wish they had talked to us sooner. If that's you, we'd be thrilled to see how financial planning can benefit your life. Email us at contact@tricordadvisors.com, or simply click on the link in the show notes.
This show was produced by Graham Gardner at Model FA. Find out more about how to create a podcast for your financial planning business by visiting modelfa.com. We love creating content that's useful, resourceful, and maybe even a little entertaining. We want to make this mega universe of financial topics and advice applicable and helpful to your life.
Remember, at Tricord Advisors, we are your future's best ally.